Hey everybody, it's Jenny McGarvey, and I am excited to share with you both updating a couple of pages in my daily diary and then also a flip through of February when I'm finished updating those. All right, so I have a couple of pages left in the month of February to catch up on. Sometimes when I have some busier days or like travel type days, for example, I get a little bit behind. And how I take care of that is I have a small notebook that I just literally use a gel pen and I jot down the highlights or the things that are noteworthy of the day in. So literally just writing them down. And I try to keep that with me all of the time just so that I can keep up with this daily diary. It works out great for when I do it the next day, but it also works out well if I do it like 2 weeks later. So that's what I've been up to for keeping up to date so far. Obviously, this is just the middle of March, so it's not like it's some well, documented habit or anything like that, but so far so good. And I'm really impressed with how easy that is for me to keep up with. I didn't know if I would be able to do that. I'm not great at daily practices. It's just not something that works well for me. And so I have been hesitant, but this is working really, really well. And that's thanks to the no pressure approach of the tiny little notebook that I just write things in. So, all right, so I have a whole bunch of book stamps. I think that probably comes as no surprise to anybody. And I wanted to just use a couple of different ones to document. One of the things that I am recording in this daily diary is the books that I read, like when I start them and when I finish them, not so much my thoughts on them, since obviously I have other projects that do that, but I do really like to keep track of when I start and when I finish. And so I'm doing that in the daily diary this year instead of in my regular planner. And again, I'm really enjoying incorporating that into this daily diary. If at any point that seems like it's not working, I will absolutely just switch it. It's really not that big of a deal to me. I also enjoy changing up the stamps too, which probably seems kind of like a strange thing to say, but I don't want to use the same stamp for starting a book and finishing a book each time either. Like I want to change them up occasionally. So that's why you see that I was searching through my stamps to see what I had so that I could find some different ones than what I had been using the past few books or whatever. And I'm not saying like, oh, completely brand new. I just mean like, okay, well, I don't want to use them repeatedly over and over in a row. I'd rather use some of the other ones that I have in my collection. So, one of the things that I also am doing in the daily diary is, like, for example, highlighting a specific word and then not only just writing it, but then outlining it with my pen too. I really, really like the pop of contrast that outlining it with the pen gives. And then also, I feel like it makes it look more finished, meaning like polished or whatever, not finished, like it wasn't finished without the pen. Because obviously, if I write the whole word, it's finished, but gives it that more polished look if I outline it with the pen. And again, obviously, that's personal preference. It's not like, oh, I absolutely have to do this. Otherwise, it's not, I'm not doing it right. No, it's just I'm enjoying that and I'm enjoying that right now. So, all right, so I have this daily calendar from with art from Eric, oh my God, small things. And I think the art on it is always so cute. And I actually really like the paper too. It's really super thin, like almost like parchment paper. And as you can see, there's tons more blue ones than there are red ones. But when I can get it to work out on specific days, like, oh, I'm on blue and I need a little bit of decoration, or I'm on red and I need a little decoration. I love to just cut these out and use them on there because they're just so stinking cute. However, as you saw, there aren't as many red ones. So I definitely had to be a little bit more had to look a little bit further through those to find a red that was going to work where I wanted it, which was up there at the top, but I found it and so it worked out great. No biggie. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of journaling. Again, this isn't meant to be like a journal, like pour your heart out journal. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just, I have tried that so many times in my life to start a journaling habit like that. And I have yet to be successful. I'm not saying I'm not going to keep trying because I'm pretty sure I am going to keep trying. However, this daily diary, like what happened is perfect. And then adding little snippets of like feelings or thoughts is going well so far. So hopefully I can just expand and grow on that, just because obviously getting more comfortable or easing into just the idea of doing it. Like I said, I think it actually has more to do with that I'm not very good at regular practices, like where I do something every single day. So now, I also do like to add, as you can see from the Eric Small things, I like to add the decorative elements in the open spaces. So, for example, obviously we all know some days you just don't have as much to record. There's just not as much going on. And, or, possibly you just forgot to. I mean, that's always an option. I'm trying really hard not to do that though. But so maybe there's just not as many things to take note of. And so I love filling it in, and I'm using lots of stickers from my stash to do that too. And that feels so good to like use up stuff that I have. I'm also really enjoying these new Sharpie markers. They're really, really fun to use. I know that sounds kind of like, oh my God, they're like really, really fun to use. I don't mean it like that though, but they are fun to use. Like they're paint pens, so it feels so enjoyable if you like, I don't want to say being creative because I think that you probably like being creative if you're watching this video, but I don't think that everybody enjoys the idea of like painting and coloring and stuff like that. But if you do, these paint pens are very, very fun to use and they're so smooth and again, just very, very enjoyable. And I know I keep saying that, but that's kind of what this really sort of is for me because I'm not sticking to something really specific like most of my other projects are much more specific, so there's not as much room to play. So that's kind of what this is, honestly, is like, yeah, I'm recording what's going on a daily basis, and that's the goal. But the just the creative play, the enjoyment of it is really very, very great. So that's one of the things that I am also loving about this is that like I'm using stickers that I purchased ages ago that I've never really gotten around to using, or PET stickers that I wasn't sure how I was going to incorporate them in my other projects. I mean, I wanted to, but I didn't really have a clear idea. This solves it. I don't have to try to do that. I'm not saying I won't. I'm just saying for right now, I can just use them. And this is a great project for that. I also have been doodling. I mean, a lot of the days, not all of the days, but a lot of them. And I'm not sure I'm any good at it, but I'm enjoying it. And like, I feel like the results are fun. Like, I don't always think they're good, but I often think that they were fun. Like, I look on them really satisfactorily because I enjoyed the process, even if I didn't totally enjoy the outcome. Like, I don't think it's great. But I also recognize that I've basically never doodled as an adult, like trying to like actually draw things before this year in this diary? I mean, mostly out of like, oh, I'm not very good at it. I don't want to do it, right? Nobody wants to typically do things that we're not good at. And so I've sort of avoided that. And in this, it's, yeah, I'm not really good at it, but I kind of want to do it anyway. So, and again, I'm just really enjoying that process too. So that's kind of what, like I said, that's what this is all about. Just really enjoying the process of while also writing down the things that are happening each and every day. I'm also in these couple of days trying to add a couple of extra stamps to, I haven't quite gotten to it, but I had sort of forgotten, honestly. Oh, okay. Well, right here, I totally jacked this up. It wasn't a finished book. Like it was meant to be the that I was starting a new book, and so I had to go back and cover that up, and I could have probably used a sticker, like a regular old, like, Happy Planner sticker or whatever, but I'm trying not to use those because I'm trying not to add too much extra bulk since I'm recognizing that just the little stickers, the PET stickers or whatever I'm using are probably adding bulk, since this is kind of already a chubby planner anyway, right? Like it's 2 pages for 365 days, or each 365 days gets its own page. Like it's not a front and back situation. So I'm trying not to use stickers. So this makeshift covering it up kind of thing, it's questionable. But the good news here is it's just one day and I'm going to flip past it and it'll be fine. And truthfully, yes, it's kind of a mess. It's not that bad. Like it's not just the worst thing ever. So I'm going with it, right? If you've watched other videos of mine, I like to use the heat tool to set inks. So for example, some of my stamping inks, and then sometimes the fountain pen inks when I just need to move on, change the page, do whatever, and it's not quite dry. I could just use my blotting paper. I don't always know exactly where that's at on my desk. I don't know if you can relate, but I do always know where my heat tool is, so I can just blast that with a little bit of heat, and then it is just ready to go and it's dry and I can flip the page with no worries there. So it's really a useful tool. It's basically like a hair dryer without all the blowing. Like it makes noise and stuff and it shoots out heat, but it doesn't shoot out like a stream of hot air. I mean, it does, but not the force that's behind a blow dryer, right? So so that part is making this all work really well and allowing me to catch up on like multiple pages at a time and stuff like that is the heat tool because I can stamp with the really wet inks and also the really wet fountain pen inks. And also the reason that my fountain pen inks are really wet is that I use a broad nib. And so obviously that deposits a ton of ink on the page. And so yeah, it's just a good way to clear that up. So as you can see, I do try to also vary the way that I write things just so that everything isn't exactly the same because that's not the look I'm going for. I want a varied page. And so I like to try to do different styles and stuff like that. And it's fun. Again, in case, you just haven't figured it out about me, I like to do different things. I don't like to do the same thing over and over and over again. And that's why I think that I'm really enjoying this project is because it's new, obviously. So that's interesting and exciting. But then also, I'm not doing the exact same thing on every page and I'm allowing myself to just do whatever I want to do on that day. So that really seems to help that flightiness or whatever that I have in terms of just wanting to always have a change. I really like that yellow color too. I wouldn't have necessarily thought that that would be like a me type of color, but I used it already once and I really liked it and it kind of stuck with me. So I was like, oh, I need to use that same yellow. And luckily, it's not like I have 55 yellows. I, have 3 or 4 or something like that. So it's not really hard to differentiate. Now, I'm definitely adding a lot of stamping on this particular day. Because I didn't have a ton to say about it because it was the pen show. So I was really busy at the pen show. And so I didn't have a lot of other bits and pieces and things to add. So there's definitely room for more decoration. And so that was fun because I obviously have several stamp sets that would work for this particular, like, decor wise. So I thought it would be fun to use those to stamp them in. This is how I clean my stamps on the regular. Obviously, I sometimes give them a stamp bath when they become less sticky, but this is how I do it on a regular basis is I use the stamp cleaner and a microfiber cloth and I wipe them down, and that does a really good job of getting the excess ink off. In case it wasn't obvious, I'm really, really, really messy and I don't always completely see what's going on. Like, in terms of, I'll get ink on my hand and then I smear it because I didn't really realize I had ink on my hand, and it's fine. I have learned that about myself, and so, and I'm not really apologetic about it because I don't think it's really that big of a deal. So I recognize that I am kind of a mess, and so keeping things as clean as I can, as quickly as I can. I mean, I don't know that I really do it as quickly as I can. I should probably do it a lot faster, but I don't always. Helps me keep things from getting out of hand and getting too messy. That's why I do this with the ink, is just to, it's an easy way to do it. So that is why I do that with the inks, is I clean them right up, get all the excess ink off, and yeah. All right, so now let's flip through February. I'm really excited with how it turned out. I'm just absolutely positively thrilled with having this diary, 2 months of it done, and done fairly quickly. Like, I'm done. It's the middle of March and I'm finished, and that is very, very exciting to me. So that is basically it for me with my daily diary for the month of February. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to try and answer them. Otherwise, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you back here real soon.